We'll give it just another minute or two before we get started. Again, today we're going to talk about the RISE program. It'll be an informational session giving you some information on how to apply and some of the benefits of applying, and then hearing from a couple of our RISE Global winners today. So anyone who's just joining, just let us know where you're joining from in the chat. We'll talk through the different phases of the application and how to apply later, a little bit later in the presentation. So if anyone has questions about that, feel free to ask us questions when we get to that portion of our information session. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. It's a little past the hour now. So welcome everybody to today's information session about RISE. I'll talk a little bit about our program, some benefits to applying, and then how to apply, and then we'll have some discussions with our panelists. So I'm just going to start here. What is RISE? I hope most of you have heard of our program before, but for those who have not, RISE is a program that finds promising young people and provides them with opportunities that allow them to work together as they work to serve others over their lifetime. So we look for service-oriented folks who want to complete projects that are beneficial to either their community or a global issue at large. We are founded by Schmidt Futures, which is funded by Eric and Wendy Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, and RISE is part of a $1 billion philanthropic commitment to identify and support global talent. We are also partnered with the Rhodes Trust, so if anyone has heard of a Rhodes Scholars before, they are funded by the Rhodes Trust, and they are one of our partners in administering this program. So at RISE, we believe the world's most pressing problems will be solved by the next generation of leaders. So if one person alone can change the world, imagine what a network of exceptional people can do together throughout their lives. And that's sort of our vision for RISE here. Again, so RISE is a part of joining RISE. You'll get to join a global community. There are benefits to all that apply. So at RISE, we believe in the power of project-based learning, and completing projects and just going through that process is a learning experience in and of itself. And you can always discover new things or new tactics about yourself and about executing projects that we hope that you can take to other areas of your life, even if you're not selected to be a RISE Global winner. And then lastly, we look for talent in innovative ways. So RISE is a completely video-based application, or if you don't have access to video, you can submit written essay questions and written essay responses. So we look for talent in kind of different ways. We're not really looking at grades. We're just evaluating you as a person and your project. So some benefits to applying. So everyone, again, who applies joins a global community and can participate on our RISE Discord. So I just want to hear a little bit from our winners. Maybe Nick, I will select you. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience on Discord and your experience when applying with some of the benefits that we offered?
Yeah, sure. My name is Nick. I'm joining from Kazakhstan. And one of the benefits as just like, the any person who's going to apply for Rise is Discord, which is like kind of community of anyone, like really international, really diverse community where you can like chat, also like share ideas, projects, get support, and also find, like team members for your like current projects to work on the projects, like, kind of come up with an idea and like participate in some kind of programs or like other competitions. This is what I personally did. I like kind of find like really few people there with whom I could connect and also work on a project and also take part in competitions. So, like as it was earlier mentioned, just by applying, you're already getting benefits.
Great. Any other, David or Lily, did you have experience in Discord as well? Did you meet new people, learn about other people's projects? Can you tell us a little bit about more your experience on Discord?
Yeah, I had a great experience when I was applying. And even after application process, I still feel like Discord is a great way to find great collaborators in general and also seek good advice for your projects. I remember during the application process, I was so lost because Rise was the first ever competition that or not competition, like a scholarship program or anything in general that I get to kind of present my project because it was also my first ever project, to be honest. Yeah, and I was so lost with how to answer the questions and exactly how should I communicate it. And I was so lucky that at the time, and I'm sure right now it will be the same time, Discord is such a great place for people to give great feedback, for peers to be able to kind of share their ideas as well. At the end of the day, this is much more than just a scholarship program. It's also a great way for connecting with people who are like-minded as you are. And it doesn't always have to be people who have the same passion as you. Like, for example, I'm into art, but I get really good advice from people who are into, for example, tech, who are into, activism. And so I think, yeah, I had a great experience. And I also made a lot of friends, not only friends from the Rise Winners community, but also from, the global community in general. And I still touch base with them and I still talk. Actually, one of the first people that I met through Discord actually just visited me in Indonesia. So again, I think Discord is such a great way to connect and to also learn from one another, which is really important, especially during the application process.
Thanks for sharing that. David, did you use Discord at all in your application process?
Yeah, definitely. I think more importantly, the importance of community, I think over the 2 years that I was a part of the application process, really does stand out to me. Because as someone who was a finalist in year one and then a winner in year two, I had access to an even larger community of both the Rise finalists and winners on the Discord server as well as outside of it. I think that to me was the most valuable part of the whole experience and is still the most valuable part. I think mentioning a few points, I'm currently working on a project or on a startup with another Rise winner who's here at my college. And also, I regularly touch base with a few winners who became great friends over the course of the summit as well. So I think both the Discord server as well as the general community are very supportive at every step of the way, not just amongst the winners. And you really find your own group of people.
Great, thanks for sharing that. And so just a note about the Discord, once you start your application, register your profile, and then confirm that you are age eligible, so that means between 15 and 17, you will get information on how to join our Discord server. So if anyone's wondering on how they can join it, if they're not already a part of it, once you create your profile on our platform, that's when you'll be able to access the Discord. On top of the Discord channel, there's other resources and events that we host. Again, completing a project in itself, so experiencing that project-based learning and human-centered design for social impact as part of our application process. And then we have lots of partner partner organizations that we partner with, and we always share the opportunities from them. So if you, again, want to learn about other opportunities, other funding opportunities, or maybe other connections towards social impact, we do share those as well. So then we have our RISE winner benefits. So part of being a RISE Global winner, you can attend a RISE residential summit with other global winners from their cohort. David mentioned meeting some new people there and forming some friendships. We'll talk a lot about the summit a little bit more in the next slide. There is also an opportunity to apply for a 4-year post-secondary needs-based higher education scholarship. So that is, again, based on financial need. And then there's a chance to apply for funding for innovative ideas on a competitive basis. David mentioned he's working on projects with current RISE Global winners and looking to kind of secure funding for that as well. And then you have an access to a network of RISE Global winners, other community members, and partner organizations. And then those who do need it can receive starter technology packages such as laptops or tablets, as well as mentorship to provide academic or professional guidance. So those are our benefits to actually becoming a winner. So our RISE Residential Summit is hosted each summer. It is fully funded, and it's a time and place for all the RISE Global winners to from your cohort to come together in person and find solutions for society's most pressing problems. Our first RISE Residential Summit was held in Cape Town, South Africa, and our second one was held this past summer in London and Oxford, which I believe Nick and Divot were both at. But I just want to hear a little bit from our winners about their experiences with the summit. Like, who were some of your favorite speakers or favorite parts of the summit that stand out to you?
I'd say the summit was a pretty memorable experience, not only because of, as I elaborated earlier, the community, but as well as the access you get to like touch basing with various organizations and leaders within their community. I think two notable things or two notable events or speakers for me from the summit. One of them was my own facilitator, who's a Rhodes Scholar, who gave a sort of little lecture slash class on concepts within robotics, which I think I liked very much as being someone who's passionately involved with robotics since the past 6 or 7 years. I found that very interesting. And I sort of reached out to him as well after the class to, let me know if there are any other resources from his side that I can explore. I think secondly, meeting the Minister of AI in the UK, that was another good experience for me because we were able to directly pose our concerns at 11 Downing Street directly to the Minister of AI and sort of have like a healthy discussion with him on the future of AI and how it affects policy. So I think those two were pretty notable and memorable events for me. And I learned a lot from the summit, not only from those events, but from the other speakers that came.
Personally, I really loved like meeting fellow RISE School winners around the world, like connecting and spending like 2 to 3 weeks of my life with them was like really incredible and something that I'm gonna remember to the rest of my life. We became winners like I think in October, and we had to meet each other like in summer, and that was really incredible. Like, after so many like months of talking and like video calling each other, working on projects online, like finally meeting them was like something that's, I don't know, I still kind of go back in time, like having flashbacks, and like and it's each time like kind of heart warms me, and I just keep smiling. And one of the biggest events is probably like the networking sessions. I remember like we had so many good like amazing speakers joining from Oxford, London, from the rest of the world, just to like meet us and also give like speeches day like the before the event, the networking sessions, the mixers, because it's not only like personally I'm like into education and like science, but I had to meet like people who like from tech or like environmental sciences, and like speaking to other people who are like so passionate about like solving, problems about like that probably like affects everyone in the world, even if you're not interested about like this kind of ideas. So that was like something opened my or like horizon to like showcase that actually problems, no matter like your interest, is going to be affecting you, and you should, as a human being, as a citizen of the world, care about these problems too, and like contribute. So like generally I'm missing all the time and like all the speakers, all the winners. And Rise is lifelong a program, and we're still in touch as we were before the summit, and we're working on projects, speaking like literally every day.
So for my experience, it's last year. I went to Cape Town, South Africa. It's a beautiful place. Um, what I enjoyed most about the summit is obviously I get to meet a lot of the Rise winners, which is awesome because I get to have more ideas to bring back home, innovative projects and kind of cross collaboration projects, which is awesome. But another thing that I remembered that was so memorable was actually getting to talk to the community there who suffered through like poverty or inequality. And that is so beneficial to me, not in terms of, oh, I'm a project, I'm not a project, I'm a CEO of a social enterprise, for example, like that. No, but it's more like learning about people's lives through their story, which is very real. And you get to see how actually a lot of social enterprises are not doing their best to actually solve these really systematic problems. And you get to think about, oh, why did they fail in the first place, and why is this not exactly um sustainable. And even though we're learning from a specific community, I get to see a lot of my community in their story as well. And so when I come home, I'm immediately I immediately have some sort of like critical thinking skills for my own projects, like, oh, I don't think this is going to benefit my community because A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And I think collective action is really important. So that's something that I really found really memorable, is that through real life stories and through hearing from why exactly is this social enterprise or this project is not serving the right community, I get to think, okay, we cannot see people as products or like as numbers from our project, but we have to see them as real people with complex problems. And that's where I realized, okay, these are the things that I think I find really really eye-opening, because in my community, not the Rise community, in my other community, it's very competitive with these sort of things, because you're thinking about sustainability for your projects, you're thinking about funding. So it's really easy to get caught up with all the stats and all the numbers of how many people you're helping, but at the end of the day, they are real people. And I think that is something that is so humbling and grounding, and that I will never forget from the summit, definitely.
Thank you for sharing. So I just want to note, like, in addition to like meeting all of these great speakers and completing capstone projects, there are still opportunities to kind of still be, young people at heart. Was there one activity that was like super fun for you all that stood out, just rapid fire? Maybe we'll go in reverse order. Lily, I'll start with you, like a fun activity, maybe outside of learning from an expert.
I loved making music with Zolani. That was really cool. We made a Rise anthem kind of song, which is awesome. That was really fun.
Oh, I'm a part of the one of the unions at Rise. Unions are like the a place, like kind of group of people from like similar backgrounds or like kind of interest. And I remember we went for like during the Union Day, we went to the dinner. That was really incredible because one of the winners from year one also joined us, Shersha from year one, yeah. And that was like really incredible because we were just like sharing with our like stories from our lives, and like kind of connecting and like kind of talking about our communities, and like the stories that we kind of like had. And I just like remember this night that was like really kind of personal, like so intimate, and like so passionate about like listening, not only like be interesting, but also be interested in others. Yeah.
I'd say definitely like on the same point, the experience with the unions, I think that's the most notable thing I can mention outside of our speakers and events in that regard. I attended dinners with two different unions across London and Oxford, and not just like the dinner itself, but the entire day visiting sites of cultural relevance, for example, Chinatown in London. That was a memorable experience for me because it's not you're not only within that intimate setting where of a dinner, but you're also able to learn more about the place whose food or whose restaurant you're going to. So I'd say the Union Day was pretty memorable, not only because of that entire experience of exploring a different culture, but also interacting with other winners at like a more personal level during the dinners themselves.
Great, thank you for sharing that. So as part of being a Rise Global winner, we do have Rise unions and circles. Unions are more probably identity-based, so we have Rise unions that are for folks from Latin America, from Africa, from Asia. And then we have Rise circles that are a little bit more topic-based. They're sort of like clubs that you could think of within our Rise Global winner community where winners can connect across cohorts with one another to kind of learn more things, learn more about each other, and share more ideas with one another. So again, global community, that really touches on our global community. We have Rise Global winners from across like 70 countries, I believe. And we believe that network plays a critical role in shaping the direction of people's lives. So we really want to focus here on creating a network of like-minded peers, but from a wide variety of backgrounds, ideas, thought diversity. So thinking about that and how that can really create a powerful network to build and collaborate with one another and who share with folks who share a passion for serving others, to facilitate, different ideas, different exchanges of thought. So that's a little bit about our global community. So here, again, you can see from the start of Rise, we have 300 winners from over 70 countries and 60 languages spoken. From our newest cohort, which we announced in October, we have 100 global winners from 43 countries, and they speak about 27 languages collectively. So our winners today are at some really great universities. For those who are in university, Divit, I know you're at university. What university are you attending?
I'm at UC Berkeley.
Great. Lily and Nick, are you both in university? No, not yet. Great. Where do you hope to go?
I hope to go to Harvard.
I really want to go to the Stanford. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have about a lot of our Rise Global winners are in California, like Divot. We have a couple, we have a good amount at UC Berkeley, at Stanford, Yale. But we also have folks across the globe, the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, the University of Oxford, in the UK, universities in Mexico, and as well as Brazil. So again, you can see there's a wide variety, a little bit of everything for our Rise Global winners. So now that we've talked a little bit about some of the benefits and some of the exciting parts, we'll dive into now how do you actually apply to become a Rise Global winner. So in order to apply, you must meet our eligibility requirements. So applicants for this, for the 2024 cohort must be between the ages of 15 and 17 as of July 1st, 2024. So that means you're born between July 2nd, 2006 and July 1st, 2009. If you are maybe 14, turning 15, we encourage you to apply, and if you're not selected, to apply again. If you will be turning 18, unfortunately, between these dates, unfortunately, we don't make exceptions to our eligibility requirements. So you'd be ineligible to apply, but we would encourage you to share the opportunity with your friends or peers who might be of age eligible, who meet our age eligibility requirements. So our application is divided into 5 parts. So the first part consists of registering your account, making your profile on our application platform, and then you'll submit some information to tell us a little bit about you. There will be a video, or again, any video or essay response, written essay response, to tell us about you. And then you'll do the steps to starting to complete a project, which consists of 3 parts: acting and reflecting, focus and research, designing and planning, and acting and reflecting is the 3rd part. You'll also be able to complete quizzes and games. And then once you complete your project, you'll have to review a couple of your peers' projects as well in order to have a completed application. So our application deadline is January 17th, 2024. And so we'll get a little bit now more into the RISE project. So the RISE project should benefit your community using any form of talent that you have. Again, it talks about, you should talk about your focus and research, your designing and planning, and how you acted and reflected on each part. So now we have some RISE project example from our 3 winners here to kind of discuss their projects. So Lily Letitia made an art education available for less privileged youth in Indonesia. Divot did Project Umid, which is using enhanced anodic substrate fuel cells to address inadequate rural electrification. And then Nick, or Ali Khan, his project focused around making education more accessible and fun. So we'll start with Lily, if you want to take a moment to talk about your project.
Sure. So my project is actually called I Exist. It has been running now already for almost 3 years, which is great. It is basically a program where I make art education available for the less privileged youth in Indonesia, and that is through mentorship with artists active in the art community. And so we do this through mentorship, and then there's a final project, which could be like a short film, a song, theater production, to something simple as maybe painting. And I think the reason why I made this program was because I believe that art education shouldn't be expensive here. Like, it's ridiculously expensive in Indonesia. And you can see the gap between people who actually have art education and people who don't because of the education system. And so there's a huge difference in, for example, confidence in self-expression. When I work together with people who have art education, they're most likely to actually show their best selves and wanting to not be afraid to be wrong and not be afraid to fail. Whereas when I meet people who are not getting art education, they're mostly shy. They do not like to talk about themselves. And that could lead to a very big impact in the future when you actually have to pitch for something, or if you want to pitch yourself for a job or anything like that. And in a holistic point of view, that impacts the inequality gap in Indonesia. So seeing this connection and also having to experience what it's like to not get access to art education as well when I was younger, I wanted to make art education what it should be available to everybody. And so that's why I created this I Exist. And also through our artworks, what we do is we make sure that their stories are heard and seen by society. I work with a lot of social media, so I try my best to make sure everybody's voice who's working in the production is seen. So maybe, people will get external opportunities as well, because that has happened. For example, one of the orphans that I worked with actually got a commercial for a car brand, which is great. Yeah, so that's why I created I Exist, because I feel like everybody should feel like they exist and not be in the background. That's my project.
Yeah, so my project is basically called Project Umeed, or which is the translation of the word in English is hope. So the project was basically centered on addressing inadequate rural electrification in India. So sort of living within the economically diverse setting of India, I could notice like the clear disparity when it comes to essential amenities and especially electrification between rural and urban areas. So when I interacted with housemates that were living within my residential society, I could like gauge their plight, because they could see both sides, or both sides of both the constant and regular electricity supply within urban areas and the sparse electricity supply within the rural areas. So taking this as a template, I wanted to learn about this problem more through the shoes of the people themselves, and then create a solution. And that's how I arrived at Projectomy. Projectomy was essentially focused on both a scientific side and a social side. So the scientific side of it was creating a renewable electricity generator. And for this project, I think it serves as an example that you can look for inspiration for the solution within the problem area itself. Because for my project, for the fuel cell that I talked about, I used cow dung, benthic mud, and sugarcane found in villages themselves to create that electricity generator. And the social part of the project was essentially spreading awareness about electrical literacy, about how electricity is important to improving the quality of life of an area. And I'm still to this date working on that project with funding from Schmidt Futures, and working with another Rise Global winner to sort of continue the project here within California, make a generator prototype of the cell, and hopefully scale it to install it in homes across India. So the last thing I'd like to note is that that there is often like you can see a sense of growth in the project. Since I applied twice, I could also within myself gauge how going through the entire RISE process augmented my project from when I applied for the first time to when I applied for the second time.
Thank you for noting that, David. So about 30% of our Rise Winner Global Winner cohorts are reapplicants. So I thank you for letting us know that you started on your project and then you reworked it a little bit for the second time that you applied. So if you are still age eligible, you are allowed to reapply. You can reapply using your same project. There just needs to be updates made to it. Or if you wanted to apply using a different project, you can definitely do that. And we really encourage our winners or any finalists or anyone who maybe wasn't selected their first time to reapply. All right, off to Nick.
So a little bit background. I come from family of like where education is not in a priority, the family values, and probably like kind of, the religion is more priority than the education. And look, when I was a kid, looking at my like brother as an example, who would do like scientific Olympiads, I really wanted to like succeed in life. And I became really interested in computer science because that was what he was doing. And I opened his textbook as a kid, and I looked like, and what I saw was like, as someone who couldn't like who barely could read, I like, I said, I'm never gonna do computer science in my life, like ever. So I closed the book and I forget about my dream. And until like the application process started for RISE, there was a time for my mentee in a mentoring club, who would ask like something school unrelated things, like something that would require more research, like where the question came from and so on. And he asked like, okay, I'm like really interested about like astrobiology, specifically how like space affects mental and physical health of astronauts. And I was like, oh, that's so specific, so niche. And then I like went through the materials online. I found like a bunch of research papers published on that, and I sent the links to him. And he was like, day after, he was like, okay, but I cannot like read 40% of words, 80% of sentences he doesn't understand. And I was like, okay, don't worry, we'll do something about it. And I thought, as I usually do, I'm gonna go over the materials again. But it didn't stop there. I like at the end I developed a video game which is really fun to learn, like to play, which is like educational. Like by playing, the player is gonna get kind of educational basis knowledge. And one of the reasons why I created that, because looking at my own example from my childhood, science is something, STEM is something that's really complicated when you're studying it incorrectly. Where, for example, when you're reading something like really heavy reading language. And I think education is a right, not a privilege. And I am working on education, and I want education to be accessible for kids too, not only for adults who are like, already kind of read or like access materials, research papers online, but also to those who barely read and just, starting, I don't know, schools and so on.
Thank you for sharing. I'm going to prompt a question to all of you. Going through the application process, what advice would you have for someone who's kind of nervous about starting a project or executing a project at this kind of scale for the application?
I'd say the best advice I would give is that your impact is often taken in the context of your community. So when you're working on such a project that is a social impact project, often one thing that comes in your mind is how much impact can I create? I think you should care more about the quality of the lives that you're affecting more than the quantity. So even if you're, say, creating impact within your town or your village or your neighborhood, if you're creating a substantial amount of impact, if you're really bringing a change in the lives of the people living there based on the issue of your choice, I feel like that is a more important thing. Personally, for my project, I focused on the grassroots level, starting from the village that was nearest to my home and setting up a pilot project of a generator there, and then expanding on to other areas. And I presented within my application as well that little pilot project that I started, and that localized impact that I created. So I think that takeaway is that your project can have any level of impact, be it small or large, as long as it positively affects the lives of people living in your community.
I think for me, it's gonna be that, when you're like sitting on your decks and like, like you're kind of trying to brainstorm what kind of problems you should like, what kind of problems you should solve through your project. I think this is one of the problems like at early stage. This is probably like where most of people kind of make mistakes. I think the question should not be like what kind of project you can create, but also like what kind of problems you meet in your everyday life, or like not if not you, then probably your surroundings. Do not try to solve like a problems that you're not really like interested about, or like the problem that you didn't encounter, like or any you're like um from like your surroundings, because I think like when people are trying to solve like artificially, it's not coming from like from sincere like heart. It's coming from brain with like no empathy, and empathy being one of the right traits. I think it's really crucial to have like internal motivation to like solve this problem, like see that problem in your life every day. And I think in that case, you're going to be motivated not only to start project, but also finish it, but also make impact on your life or on the lives of surroundings. And I think that's one of the, and if you're like trying to like, like really thinking hard, like what kind of problems you could solve, I think if it's a problem for you to find a problem to solve, I think like you're like kind of missing some problems, because I think everyone of us here like seeing some kind of problems, because unfortunately now the time where we have a lot of problems in every society, in every culture, and I'm really happy to see like a lot of people trying to solve these problems.
For me, the advice that I always give to people when they start applying is you gotta be honest with yourself to be able to make an honest application. I think since this is a video application, or whether it's even essay, at the end of the day, when you reach finalist day, that's really when your honesty really speaks. Let me just say that. Um, I think honesty is so important. You gotta be honest to yourself when you're looking at the application. The questions are all about you. It's not about really like your grades or like how well have you done in like in the past experiences. No, it's about you. So if you're not honest to yourself, it will show. If not in the application process, then yeah, in in the other experiences or other opportunities. So being honest with yourself is really important, and it should be one of the first steps that you should take before the application process. it can be nerve-wracking seeing like, oh, the pressure to make social impact, because that's such a big word, right? Because we never know how much exactly are we impacting people's lives. You can't really measure based on like, okay, I help this person once, that's social impact. No, it's a long journey. So you gotta, I think one of the most important things I used to tell myself during the application process is, if I'm honest, it will show. My passion will show, my goal will show, and my message will be delivered. I think that's something that is really important, especially if you're taking the video route. Um, you know, um, yeah, so just be honest with yourself. Don't try to cover things up, and don't try to make yourself what you're not. Don't try to make yourself very cool. Being simple, having good communication skills, and really just showing why you want to be a Rise winner, why you want to help your community. That would really help you. Not only your nerves, but also really help you in the application process as well. It makes the people who are assessing you like way easier. So yeah, that's kind of my advice. Just be honest with yourself.
That's really great advice, Lily. You touched upon our finalist days. So just want to explain a little bit about our process here. So you must submit your application by January 17th, and that includes your Rise Challenge project. And then the peer reviews, if you've already submitted your project by today, you can start reviewing other peers' projects. But if you wait till our deadline, you have until January 31st to complete all of the peer reviews. And then we select up to 500 finalists to advance to our finalist days, which is a kind of a day-long Zoom interview format where you do group project, or you do kind of group activities with other finalists. You have a chance to talk about your project. And then from our finalist pool, we will select up to 100 winners and provide them with opportunities as they work to serve others. And we announce that generally in September of 2024. And let me see, Nick, do you want to explain how your finalist day went? How are you feeling in finalist day? What were your thoughts about it?
Um, when I like received emails that I'm gonna be like joining real long Zoom meeting as a like final stage of the Rise application process, I got really nervous, and this is how I exactly felt when I joined the meeting. I was looking like, all the screen, like all the different faces, all the different nationalities, like so many from so many countries, backgrounds, like, and I felt like really nervous, I was like, wow, like what I'm doing. And I think we had like three activities, but after like literally 30 minutes, like, talking to others, I kind of really calmed down. And the rest of the finals day went really incredible. And I still remember the faces that I saw, the connections that I made, the fun that I had during the finals day. And looking back time, like now I really wish not to be stressing out like too much, but also trying to enjoy the process, trying to enjoy the communities that there, the people, their voices, try to like, listen to them, also add your voice, your thoughts into the table. Especially during the activities, we were like doing some fun activities like puzzles and so on. And that was a really fun time. And you know, like try to forget that it's like actually um some kind of, stage of the application process. I would say this is really just incredible opportunity to connect with more people and have fun. Yeah.
Great. So just wanted to backtrack here a little bit about our FAQs. Do we look at grades? Nope, we don't look at grades as part of our application. We use a project-based approach to assess our values. So we're not looking at your transcripts or looking to see what kind of schools you come from. Can you submit group projects? Yes, you may submit a project that you worked on with a group. However, you must apply individually and highlight your individual work or contributions for the project. Is the application available in languages other than English? no, our application is only available in English. And again, your video or written responses must also be in English. Your project can be in whichever language that your home country is. But when talking about your project and describing your project throughout our application and during our finalist days, should you be selected as a finalist, it will all be conducted in English. So again, here are the important dates. Application date is January 17th. Peer review is January 31st. And then if you're selected to be a finalist, that will be in the spring of next year, and then announcing our winners in the fall of next year. I'm going to leave you all here a moment to take out your phones or copy the links in this profile to kind of get started on the application if you haven't already. And then I'm going to open up to any kind of Q&A if people have put Q&A in our Q&A chat or in the chat. Let me just see if there's any that I can ask our winners. Maybe I'll prompt a question to our winners. What do you say? What do you think? How did you overcome kind of maybe any sort of fear, anxieties that you might not actually get to become a Rise Global winner, and how did you persevere that to actually submit your project?
I'd say the sort of best thing to take away from the process is that even if you don't get the scholarship, the experiences through the application process should be enough to motivate you to persevere beyond the process itself. Like with me, I myself was not quite happy that I didn't become a winner after the first cohort, but I was still motivated to carry on the project and to improve it, scale its impact, and then apply again. And I think the key thing to overcoming that fear of not getting the scholarship is to remember the fact that you're doing this work to impact your own community, not solely for the purposes of the scholarship, but it also creates a positive impact on the people you live around, which means that even if you don't get the scholarship, you can continue creating that positive impact post the application cycle, and maybe even apply again if you're age eligible if you don't get it.
I can go next. So basically about fear and anxiety, I'm the kind of person who like to just talk to like people that I'm close with. So even though some of them like won't really care about my application, it still feels good to kind of practice kind of answering the questions or just kind of communicating how I feel about, the anxiety and the stress. It's just really calming. It works for me, and you know, I got a lot of like words of affirmation saying it's gonna be okay. But also what's important is I get feedback, like really good feedback. And that's where I think not only did I get feedback from my like peers, like from Discord, like but I also get like feedback from the people that know me, which is really good for an application that actually ask more about you. So yeah, that's how I deal with the stress. I just talk.
I think like talking is a really good thing, but also what I kind of do is like my professor with whom I work on a research used to say, like the writing is thinking. And what I do now is like whenever I'm anxious, like when I have like, kind of stress, anxiety, what I try to do is like, just express my thoughts just with the writing, like it could be like, in a form of poetry, or it could be like as I do here, for example, just scratch paper, like just random thoughts, because I think like in our head, like things are really complicated and like so messed up, like the links like all interconnected. But I think on a paper, you're organizing your thoughts. And one of the other ways is like just have a walk, like sitting for 1 extra hour is probably less efficient than like going for a 15-minute walk and then coming back and work for another 45 minutes. So I think this is really great, like during the walking, what I try to do is like organize my thoughts, like, like think about some kind of things that are really stress me. And when I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna like just like, resolve every matter. I think it works with me, probably it's gonna work or may not work with you.
Great, thank you for that. I'm gonna see if there's any other questions here. Let's see. I think that is most of them are already answered here. So I'm gonna leave. Let's do one parting piece of advice for anyone applying or thinking about applying. From each of our Rise Global winners. I'll just go in the order of my screen here. We'll start with Lily.
Okay, let me think of another advice. I guess let's see. Oh yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions from like previous like Rise winners or Rise finalists if you know them. I'm sure you'll know them from the website. But yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions. I personally love answering questions as much as I can. I'm not gonna plug my social media here because it's kind of shameless. But anyway, yeah, if you find my Instagram or anything like that, you can yeah, you can go and ask me a question. I'll be happy, or I believe like all the Rise winners would be happy to answer your questions. So yeah, don't be afraid to connect and to ask questions because I think it's gonna be very helpful.
I'm gonna with like probably the most cliche one, be yourself. Like I think the meaning of it like actually changes. When I used to get this advice, like, whenever I would apply for a program or when I even applied for Rise, like a lot of people would say like, just be yourself, and I'm gonna be like, oh wow, thank you. But now I think like looking back time, like this is one of the really good advice. Like, don't try to be not a person like who you are not. I think like, use your authentic voice. I think you have a story to tell. I think you're like, like you're passionate about like some kind of, problem. I think your voice is the strongest one. And I think let's just let it shine, like put your authentic voice into your application and yeah, and be proud of it.
Um, I'd say a sort of parting advice would be essentially to persevere throughout the process. I think that would be the best advice that I would give, because personally, persevering throughout the process is how I became a global winner. And I think you should always have confidence in your own project. And you should always believe that the idea you're working on can create a substantial impact, irrespective of whether you end up getting the scholarship or not.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to our Rise winners for joining us, Divit, Nick, and Lily. We encourage you again all to apply. If you haven't already, please scan our QR code or go to our website here to start your application or to continue working on your application. You can move through the application at your own pace. However, our deadline is January 17th. It takes, some people a little bit longer to complete the project portion of it. So we really encourage you to get started as soon as possible, just so you are familiar with the different parts and pieces of the application. You don't have to go in order of our application. You can work on maybe the about you. You can do some of the puzzles and games while you're still working on completing your project or working on submitting the videos for your project. So we wish you all the best of luck, and we hope to see you as future Rise Global winners. So thank you all for attending.
Good luck, guys.